Okay, so I've had a night to think about it and sleep on it, right? And I'm happy. Okay, so let me break this down. So I became a Hornets fan in 2018, right? And we had Tony Parker, Kimball Walker, Jeremy Lamb, Devontae Graham was still in the G League. He was a rookie. Miles Bridges wasn't doing super well. Malik Monk was just like, eh. And I started watching those games regularly because I got into basketball. And they were so close to making the playoffs. They were like, what, 2 games? If they had won the last game of the season and the Knicks had, or no. The if the Pistons had lost their last game of the season against the Knicks and the Hornets had won their last game, the Hornets would have made the playoffs. But then the Pistons won, and then to make matters worse, then the Hornets lost. So, and then I was like, okay, well, we'll run it back again next year. I was a super big Kemba fan. I loved Kemba Walker, still do. And I thought we were going to re-sign him because why wouldn't you? He deserved that money, and he's just a great guy overall. And we let him walk. And I remember I was so upset. I was just so annoyed that we let somebody like Kemba Walker go. Like the Charlotte Hornets are constantly made fun of. I mean, I'd rather be a Hornets fan than a Clippers fan, but I mean, at least the Clippers are like they have good players, you know? We've never really had good players because nobody really wants to play with us. It's like what? Biggest free agents over the past 5 years, or I'll even say 10 years, is what? Al Jefferson and Dwight Howard? Yeah. I like Dwight Howard personally, but it just didn't work out very well. I mean, he just put up empty stats, right? And Al Jefferson was great, but that was a long time ago. So, or it seems like a long time ago, before I started watching basketball. So, so in this draft, I had 3 different players, right? I was okay with Anthony Edwards. I really wanted James Wiseman. Really wanted James Wiseman. Super bad because we needed a big man, right? Because we're losing Bismack Biyombo. And because I just know that's a given. And yeah, I just really wanted a big man. And James Wiseman was just interesting, but he was risky. But I was like, we're the Charlotte Hornets. You might as well take a risk on somebody other people are talking up, right? And so the first pick goes, right? And then the second pick went around. And yeah, that didn't go well. But that's okay. The fact of the matter is that James Wiseman went second, and so I was waiting around for the third pick, and I was like, okay, Onyeka Okongwu is a big man. I know we need a big man, but I kind of want LaMelo at that point because half my friends, half the people that were messaging me were like, LaMelo's a bucket, and the other half were like, I swear I will never watch Hornets basketball again if LaMelo gets drafted. So I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. I knew LaMelo was the best prospect available. And so I was kind of like, let's just get LaMelo. Cause I feel like he would just... Oh, I'll get to that in a minute. So then LaMelo gets drafted by the Hornets, and I was just like, okay. Now we have 3 point guards, and we don't know what to... What are we going to do with Terry Rozier? Because we're not getting rid of Devontae Graham. I swear we better not. That wouldn't make any sense, at least from Mitch Kupchak's side. And then it turns out I had to leave to take my girlfriend home, right? And when I get back, I find out the Hornets drafted Vernon Carey out of Duke, which is crazy because he's a big man. I've seen him as kind of slower and older, sort of like an aged center, traditional center. That's the word. But I watched him a little bit at Duke. I'm a UNC fan, but I still knew who Vernon Carey was because he's at a North Carolina school, and so I was very intrigued by it, but I was also satisfied because I was like, okay, if we have LaMelo and we got a big man, that's okay. That's cool. Then we ended up trading for a guy, I think Nick Richards, who's also a big man. I think he's 6'11". So that was cool. We traded a future second round pick to the Pelicans for Nick Richards. So I'll take that. And then I could not believe this. So back in July, I remember I was listening to a Hornets podcast on Spotify, right? And they were talking about a few different players that the Hornets would be interested in. There was like Devin Vassell, there was, I think, Tyrell Terry, but there was Grant Riller, and they said Grant Riller is super underrated, and the Hornets will probably take him if he falls to them in the second round. And I thought they were going to take Grant Riller with the 32nd pick, but I guess not. I mean, maybe he just wasn't like as good as I thought he was, but at the same time, I just had a weird vibe about him. So I'm watching from pick 40 to pick 56 where the Hornets were picking, right? And I'm just constantly saying at the television, I'm like, okay, it's going to be Grant Riller, right? He fell to us. And I'm watching the Hornets. They're on the clock, and I'm like, okay, please tell me you're going to take this guy. Like, they're going to take him, right? And then it shows up, and they picked him. And I was just like, big brain. I knew it. Called it. You know, call game. So that was pretty cool. He's a point guard. So we have 4 point guards, right? And we don't know what to do with. Grant Riller is probably going to be in the G League the whole year. He's basically going to be the Devontae Graham of, I guess, 2 years ago now. And so now what do we do? Let me think. So I think LaMelo actually wants to play in Charlotte. I really think he actually does. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they're just going to trade him or he doesn't want to play in there at Charlotte, but I really think he does. Something about just the vibe around what he was saying in the post, like, draft media. Maybe he was just saying it to say it. I don't know. But if I was a player, right, with a lot of potential, and I, like, got drafted by a team with, like, low interest in its history and hadn't done much, I would kind of want to go to that team. Because then you can easily become the best player from that team in that franchise, right? You will have an awesome fan base, most likely, of just people loving you for being in that city in general, like Kemba Walker was, right? LaMelo Ball attracts just followers. People love to follow LaMelo Ball, right? So I'm really excited about seeing LaMelo Ball in a Hornets jersey because I think he can. I really think he can work out his shooting. I mean, it's a liability, but also remember that Devontae Graham was a terrible shooter in his rookie season. Now, granted, he didn't play many minutes, right? But he was not a good shooter when he did play his freshman year. And then he comes in and, like, knocked down 3-point sniper, right, throughout the year, this past year. I mean, I know he shot, it was like 38% from 3, but it was because of how many threes he was taking. He hit 10 threes in a game. He had several ones where he hit 8, right? And he was just getting, like, shots after shots. He was just taking a lot of those shots. And our G League staff did that. Mitch Kupchak knew what he was doing when he was taking him. So I really strongly feel like they can work with LaMelo on his form if he cooperates, right? As a Hornets fan, I'm really excited, though. I gotta be brutally honest. I do not want anybody in free agency. Unless it's like... Yeah. No. Not really. If we can trade Nicholas Batum for, like, a second-round pick or something in general, if we can end up getting him off, that'll make this offseason perfect. Because I just want him gone. Just want him gone. And, yeah, then that'd make it a perfect off-season for me, man. I'm super psyched for this season, and I hope you guys are too. Because, hey, us Hornets fans, we've been waiting for this, man. We've been waiting. Some of y'all way longer than I have. You are much more devoted than me, even though, I mean, I didn't have a chance to start watching until recently. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Again, I think it was a great pick. He was, to me, the best player available. But I also thought he was the best player in the draft, specifically based off of liability. So I can talk about that for a second. I felt like if the Hornets drafted LaMelo Ball and he ended up being bad, we wouldn't get so much slack and negative feedback for drafting him as we would have with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Or, well, we didn't draft Marvin Williams. Never mind. Big dog back there. Yeah, we wouldn't get slack like we did for MKG or Frank Kaminsky, right? It's like, what are you doing drafting these guys? Granted, the 2015 draft was terrible. You had like 4 guys who were good. Terry Rozier was in that draft too, but it was bad. It went what? There was Towns, D'Lo, Kristaps, Montrezl Harrell was in that draft, and it just fell off after that. It was a terrible draft. But I just feel like LaMelo Ball is one of the like most well-rounded players to where if he ends up being bad, we shouldn't get any hate for it because Anthony Edwards has a lot of upside, but I also know a lot of people who are saying he has downsides. Like I heard he doesn't like to watch film. He doesn't even know if he wants to play basketball, like if he's gonna be competitive. And James Wiseman, right? 3 games in college, right? 2 or 3, and yeah. That's really sketchy, and specifically off of his big man role, I just wanted to take a risk on him, but it's for the best that we don't. And he'll probably pan out well. You know why? Because he's with the Warriors, and the Warriors know how to work with people. So that's good for him, and I think that we got some really good talent in LaMelo Ball. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys. Be sure to leave a like and comment what you think about this Hornets pick.